Okay, you know the name. We've all heard the whispers of sudden vanishings, ghost ships, and just wild out there theories. But today, we're diving deep into this explainer to look at one of the ocean's most enduring and honestly terrifying mysteries, the Bermuda Triangle. We're going to pull apart the legend, look straight at the sources, and see exactly what happens when maritime history completely collides with human psychology. Let's get into it. To really wrap our heads around the sheer dread surrounding this place, we have to travel back to December 5th, 1945. Just listen to this chilling final transmission from Lieutenant Charles C. Taylor. He was the flight leader for a group of 5 U.S. Navy torpedo bombers, a group famously known as Flight 19. Now, the weather was completely clear when they took off from Florida for a routine training run, but suddenly things changed. Their compasses started spinning aimlessly. Taylor reported that the ocean below looked, well, inexplicably wrong. And shortly after that transmission, all 14 men and their 5 aircraft just vanished into thin air. No wreckage was ever found. So where exactly did they disappear? If you look at a map, the boundaries of the Bermuda Triangle roughly link the coast of Florida, the island of Bermuda up north, and Puerto Rico down to the south. But here's a fun fact. This specific shape and name, they weren't actually cemented until 1964. A writer named Vincent Gaddis published an article in a pulp magazine called Argosy, and he basically gave the phenomenon its geographic identity. And man, that idea spread like wildfire. To put that into perspective, think about the sheer scale we're dealing with here. 500,000 square miles. That is a massive, incredibly busy chunk of the Atlantic Ocean, where, if you believe the legends, the fundamental laws of nature just stop working. Section 1. Centuries of Maritime Mystery. You see, the fear of this region didn't just start with 20th century planes. These strange anomalies actually go back way further than you might think. Even Christopher Columbus, right back in his 1492 diary, recorded some truly bizarre events while crossing the Sargasso Sea, which overlaps heavily with the triangle. We're talking terrifying weather shifts, spinning compasses, mysterious lights glowing on the horizon, and even a massive ball of fire plummeting from the sky straight into the ocean. Oh, and his ships got heavily trapped in this miles-long, thick carpet of seaweed. It's like something straight out of a movie. And over the centuries, the legend just kept escalating, completely cementing the region's terrifying reputation. We go from those weird celestial observations in the 1400s to some absolute tragedies. In 1881, we get a notorious ghost ship. In 1918, a massive naval vessel vanishes. And then, of course, in 1945, Flight 19 disappears, along with the actual rescue plane sent to find them. Let's talk about that ghost ship for a second, because the story of the Ellen Austin in 1881 is spine-chilling. Get this. Captain Griffin spots a ship just drifting in a dead calm. He goes over to investigate and finds its highly valuable cargo perfectly intact, but literally not a single soul on board. No signs of struggle, nothing. So he puts his own experienced crew on the vessel to tow it back. But then, a violent storm and dense fog roll in, separating the two ships. When the storm finally clears, Griffin finds the ship again. But his men? Completely vanished. It's as if the ship somehow swallowed 2 entirely separate crews. Now, if you're thinking, well, those were just fragile 19th century wooden ships, the statistics of the 20th century are gonna shock you. In 1918, the USS Cyclops, this is a massive steel naval cargo ship carrying over 10,000 tons of manganese and 306 people, simply disappeared. No distress call, no wreckage. Then decades later, Flight 19's 14 men vanish, and horrifyingly, that PBM Mariner rescue plane sent out that very same night with 13 crewmen also disappeared without a trace. It proved that neither the Navy's largest warships nor their modern aircraft were safe here. But then, you have the impossible survival stories that just mess with your head. In 1970, a pilot named Bruce Gernon reported flying his plane into this bizarre tunnel-like cloud. He said that once inside, he was surrounded by dense fog, and all his electronic instruments and compasses just started spinning wildly. When he finally popped out of the fog, he was somehow already at the Miami coastline. His plane maxed out at 180 miles per hour, yet he managed to cover a 90-minute flight in just 45 minutes. Basically, he averaged over 300 miles per hour. No way that makes physical sense, right? Section 2, Wormholes, Aliens, and Atlantis. Naturally, with undeniably weird survival stories like Gernon's stacking up alongside the tragedies, the public was hungry for answers. Let's look impartially at the theories that really dominated the conversation back then. Remember, this was an era fueled by sci-fi and pulp magazines. Some people claimed interdimensional wormholes were acting as portals, swallowing ships into parallel universes. Others brought back those centuries-old tales of giant sea monsters. You even had theories about secret underwater alien bases orchestrating UFO abductions. Oh, and of course, accusations that the US government was running classified Area 51-style ocean experiments and destroying ships to cover their tracks. And these wild ideas, they quickly anchored themselves to real-world discoveries. Take the Bimini Road, for example. In 1968, divers found this really unusual, blocky underwater rock formation near the Bahamas. Conspiracy theorists absolutely weaponized it. They immediately claimed, these are the sunken ruins of Atlantis. The theory was that the ancient city's electromagnetic energy crystals were still active, shooting invisible beams up to the surface and scrambling modern navigation systems. Section 3, the scientific reality. Okay, we aren't going to leave you hanging with magic crystals and giant squids. Let's pivot sharply to the real hero of our explainer, the actual grounded science. Because when it comes to navigation, there is a stark contrast between myth and reality. We keep hearing about these spinning compasses, right? From Columbus all the way down to Flight 19. Theorists say it's Atlantis. Science, however, points to something called the agonic line. See, Earth has a geographic north and a magnetic north, and the gap between them is called magnetic variation. Well, in certain parts of the Bermuda Triangle, these two norths perfectly align. If a navigator, especially back in the day, didn't realize this and just blindly trusted an unadjusted compass, they would drift entirely off course. It's not magic, it's just magnets. Another incredibly compelling scientific explanation is actually buried deep beneath the seabed. Scientists point out that there are immense deposits of methane gas down there. If this gas suddenly erupts, it shoots billions of tiny bubbles up toward the surface. This drastically and instantly reduces the density of the water. And without that density, a massive cargo ship literally loses its buoyancy and drops like a stone into the abyss. It happens so fast that there's no time for a distress signal, and it pulls all the debris right down with it. Then there's the weather. Think about the number 170. That's 170 miles per hour. In 2016, satellite images actually detected these strange hexagonal clouds hovering over the triangle. Scientists call them air bombs. When these clouds break apart, they blast localized downward winds that slam into the ocean's surface at up to 170 miles per hour. A sudden vertical blast of that magnitude, it can easily capsize a massive ship or catastrophically alter the flight path of a low-flying plane. Now, couple those terrifying air bombs with rogue waves. The ocean currents in this region, like the Gulf Stream, are incredibly fast and unpredictable. When extreme storms converge there, they can generate sudden rogue waves rising over 100 feet high. Just imagine an instant, towering, 100-foot wall of water coming out of nowhere. It is more than capable of crushing a vessel in a matter of seconds. Section 4. The myth demystified. So we've got agonic lines, methane eruptions, air bombs, and rogue waves. The science provides terrifying but entirely logical explanations. But what about the sheer volume of disappearances? Well, for that, we have to look at the data. In 1975, researcher Larry Cush published an extensive book where he systematically fact-checked the legend. He actually rolled up his sleeves, dug into the old logbooks, and checked the historical weather records. And you know what? The mystery completely dissolved. He found that a lot of these ships that supposedly vanished mysteriously had actually sunk during massive, well-documented hurricanes. The pulp authors just conveniently ignored the weather reports to make the story sound spookier. Some of the ships never even sailed through the triangle in the first place. Ultimately, when we look at the undeniable economic and official realities, the whole myth comes crashing down. The National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration confirms that the accident right here is exactly average for any highly trafficked sea route. And get this, Lloyd's of London, one of the biggest marine insurance companies in the world, doesn't charge a single cent of extra premium for ships crossing this area. Think about it. If there were true statistically higher risks of ships getting swallowed by wormholes, insurance companies would absolutely be charging for it. Plus, the U.S. Coast Guard doesn't officially recognize it, and scientifically, the area doesn't even have fixed boundaries. And honestly, it's not even a unique phenomenon. Japan has the Dragon Triangle in the Pacific. India has the Amarta region. These are areas with similar, highly unpredictable weather and ocean currents, and they sit at roughly the exact same subtropical latitudes.
Ships and planes disappear there too due to those exact same natural phenomena we just talked about. The only real difference? The Bermuda Triangle just had 1960s pulp magazines and Hollywood PR backing it, turning its local tragedies into a global brand.
Which brings us to the end of our explainer today, and to a final question I want to leave you chewing on. We've seen the history, we've walked through the wild theories, and we've laid out the grounded science. But ultimately, does the true mystery lie in the unpredictable, dangerous depths of the ocean? Or does it lie in our deeply human desire to turn tragic natural accidents into captivating, legendary stories? Thanks for joining me on this deep dive, and as always, keep questioning the world around you.